This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Frank Warren here in a very sunny Riyadh. Frank, it's been a little bit chilly this week, and now it's starting to get a bit warmer for us.
Well, it's chilly at night. Daytimes is lovely. It's lovely. Let's put it this way: it's much better than the weather back in the UK.
That doesn't take much being there, Frank. But here we are once again, Riyadh, familiar settings. Does it feel any different every time you come out here, or is it all just the same
It's
as
always
usual now?
exciting. You know, we've got exciting fights on. We've got a massive rematch, probably the biggest fight of this year. After the last one, this is a huge moment in sport. We're going to find out who is going to be victorious and will be crowned the best heavyweight in the world.
Going into this fight, Frank, from Tyson and Alexander's perspective, but as Tyson's promoter, what do you want to see more from him? What else do you have to see?
I don't want to see the showboating. I want to see him focus. I want to see what he did in rounds 3 to 7 in the fight, where he was very much on top, controlling the fight with his jab, boxing well. That's what I want to see. And he's capable of doing that.
I've seen you say previously that you want to see him go for that stoppage. You want to see him knock out Alexander Usyk. Do you feel like that's the way he will go in this
I
fight?
thought that's the way the fight was going up until at the end of the round I mentioned. Certainly in that 7th round, he wobbled back to the corner. He caught him with a tremendous shot, but it wasn't to be. So he's got to be really focus and 100% of the time and do that.
It was obviously a close fight first time round, Frank, so do you think it's on his mind to not leave it in the hands of the judges?
Yeah, he's got that in his head, there's no doubt about that. And he's prepared differently for this fight than he certainly did in any fight. He's not spoke to his wife for quite a few months now. He's in a training camp. He's reduced the size of the amount of people who are with him. Lots of changes from that perspective. I've hardly spoken with him. He's just not taking calls. His phone's switched off. He's just focused on this fight. That's all that matters. And yesterday, seeing him on the red carpet, on the arrivals, I just thought he looked in such great shape, and more importantly, mentally was in a good place.
We saw a video call between himself, Alexander, and Turki Al-Sheikh, and it certainly, you could interpret it that maybe Turkey's on the side of Tyson, wouldn't mind seeing him come out on top. Do you get that vibe when you speak to him?
Yeah, he's a boxing fan. He wants to see a third fight. That's what it is. He's like all of us, you know, he's a massive boxing fan, and that's where he'd like it to be. But look, you know what? You got two guys in there, two great fighters, two best heavyweights of the 21st century, no doubt about that, who last May put on the best heavyweight fight of this century. There's no doubt about that either. And I think we're going to get something even better this time. The fact they've shared the ring with each other, the fact they know their strengths and weaknesses, I feel you're going to see some magic in the ring. There's no doubt about that. And Tyson is so up for this, as is Usyk, by the way. You look at him; he looked magnificent yesterday.
You mentioned earlier the theme of the trilogy. I know I've seen a few comments surrounding that as well. You know, on the case of Tyson, once again, you've probably got that, maybe the Daniel fight, if Daniel comes through Joseph Parker, and then obviously the AJ fight, which has been mentioned for a number of years. But would you say that the trilogy, if Tyson was successful on Saturday, trumps all?
Oh, it does, because it's contracted. And whatever happens, that would be the case if Tyson wins, provided nobody retires.
On that note then, and on the fact that it's contracted, if he was to commit to a trilogy, he's had one unbelievable one with Deontay Wilder, which will be remembered for the ages, and then he could go into another one with Alexander Usyk. What does that say, in your opinion, about Tyson Fury?
I think Tyson, going into this fight, for me, has been, you know, look, a lot of journalists after the last fight, a lot more sports writers rather than boxing writers, and some of them were haters, but you know, the majority of them said that Usyk is now the best heavyweight of his generation, that he deserves to be up there with the Alis and the Louis and the Marcianos and all these guys going back in time. If Tyson beats him, then that becomes Tyson. And I think Tyson's there anyway. The fact he's a 2-time world champion, the fact that he's won his titles on the road in the other guys' countries or adopted country. He's there. He's a great fighter. Comes through this one, even better fighter.
A young star in the heavyweight division who you promote, Frank, Moses Itauma, returns. What are you hoping to see from this Dempsey McKean fight?
It's a win. He's in a tough fight. There's no doubt about that. You know, Dempsey's a competitor, a very tough competitor. He's only lost one fight, and that was his last fight, and that was for eliminator for the world title against Hrgovic, who at the time everybody was ducking. He got to the 12th round with him. And we've seen Hrgovic in action against Daniel recently. So if you're looking for a form line, look at those first 3 rounds. The the right-handers that he was throwing and catching Daniel with. This guy got through all that to 12 rounds. So he's in with somebody who's a tough guy. This is a big step up for a teenager, because that's what he is. He's still 19 years of age.
I know he's had a lot of people refuse and decline offers to face him simply because of the talent he possesses, and without having certain titles around his waist, people probably aren't seeing the risk-reward factor. But he mentioned to me Jermaine Franklin turned down the fight. Now, if that fight could be agreed, I think that would have been a fantastic fight for him and his journey.
I agree.
What can you tell me about Jermaine Franklin and what he had to say about turning it down? Why did Jermaine Franklin turn down the fight?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you've got to speak to his management and ask them that question. The fact it didn't happen. But more importantly, let's focus on what is supposed to be happening, and that's him coming through this fight on Saturday. That's what we want. And it's no foregone conclusion. But if he does what I believe he can do, then that is a fabulous opportunity for him to set himself up next year in some really meaningful fights. And who knows? May try and break that record.
Do you think that's still feasible?
We'll see. Let's see what happens after Saturday.
Just away from Moses, obviously another man you was meant to have on the card in Dennis McCann. We had the failed adverse finding. What can you tell me about that, Frank?
His urine test came out positive. We haven't had the result of his B sample yet. His blood sample came out negative. So that's where we are, and once we know where we are with the B sample, there will be whether we do or we don't know. There's the border control have now suspended him, reported it to UCAD. UCAD will convene a hearing, and until after the result of that hearing, I can't give you any further information.
The only other thing I want to ask on that note is, I saw in your interview with Umar you mentioned stimulants, plural. So is there multiple things which came up in his adverse findings?
There was a couple in there, yeah.
And then also just want to get your thoughts on Dr. Usman Sajjad, who had teamed up with Dennis for this fight. Now, obviously in the past he's been working with Conor Ben, he's worked with Tyson in the past, amongst other athletes as well. But there's been a lot of talk about his involvement within boxing, and the video previously circulated.
I'm going to tell you what he told me. So Dennis has told me that he has not cheated. So if he hasn't, and he swore to me he hasn't done that, if he hasn't, and his B sample test positive, he's then got to explain how this got into his system. So that's the position. As regarding the doctor, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the doctor. I don't believe I've ever met him, and he may be the nicest bloke in the world. He might not be. I don't know. But if what a lot of people allege is that he's supplying these guys or giving them these stimulants, then he's somebody we don't need in the sport, if that is true.
Fair enough, Frank. And yeah, just moving on then. Chris Eubank Jr., I'm sure you've seen his tweet. He's been quite, not very nice, let's say, about Dennis failing his test. And he's mentioned...
We should wait to the outcome. Let's see what happens at the end. You know, he's very quick to jump on the situation, you know. He weren't so vociferous when we offered him the fight against Hamza.
Do you think that fight is completely dead in the water now? I've seen Hamza's on that world title scene.
Hamza wins the world title. I'm not sure Hamza would then want to give him the opportunity. I don't know really. Let Hamza's got his hands full with a real tough fight in February. But as regarding Chris Eubanks is Chris Eubanks. He's got lots of things to say about lots of things. Let's see him fight somebody who's a live opponent, because he hasn't fought a live opponent for a long time. Not old guys. I'm talking about a live young fighter.
Just on the theme of Hamza, obviously he's a fantastic fight with Carlos Adames, but why did you guys pursue the WBC route instead of the Janibek route?
Well, because it gives our other guys an opportunity to fight for the other version, and hopefully, touching wood, it's not easy, but if they both pull it off, what a tremendous unification situation that would be.
And just a couple of topics to quickly touch on. Dillian Whyte returned the other night against Tete. Didn't look great.
I haven't seen it. Okay. I haven't seen it because we was travelling.
I've just on the note of Dillian, then a lot of people suggesting that if Derek was to come for Otto Wallin, the trilogy makes sense.
Yeah, it may do, but you know, obviously we've got to sort out his situation, or he's got to sort out his situation with the border control first of all.
Joyce, his return, an opponent.
He'll be fighting next year. We'll be announcing that fairly soon.
Nick Paul and TJ Doheny announced as well.
Great show up in Liverpool. We did really well last time. We've had tremendous take-up already for tickets. It's been brilliant, as we have for Manchester. We've done over 9,000 tickets already up there. Yeah, before Christmas. That's a bit of a thing.
That's great going, Frank. On the theme of Nick, it's obviously great to see the world champions and the high-profile names still boxing in the UK. That was obviously a concern of boxing fans seeing them constantly come to
There
Riyadh.
you go. We've allayed their fears.
You have, certainly. But on the theme of Nick and those other world titles, is it Doheny and then pursuing unification?
Yeah, I'd like to see him in unification. He should be holding 2 belts. Yeah. He got cheated in that fight against Vargas.
I don't think many people will disagree with you about they felt Nick had done enough to win that fight, Frank. But yeah, I appreciate your time. Anything you want to leave on?
No, just tune in on Saturday. You are going to see history. You're going to see a great fight between 2 unbelievable heavyweights, the best 2 heavyweights of their generation. They're going to have a rematch, locking horns again. And I'm telling you, do not blink, because it's not going the distance. Hang on, I've got a message.
He's got a bird had just appeared and just left. But Frank, I appreciate your time. He's come back. He's on his way. But yeah, thank you for speaking to me. Good luck for the team and everybody on Saturday, and enjoy the rest of your time here in Riyadh.
Cheers, my son. Bye.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank.